Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. We have a brand new team to talk about. That's reggae horns. Anyway, all stupidness aside, we do have a brand new team to talk about. The Fishers Freight are entering the fray for their first season. I'm going to see how many times I can put, the letter F words, and not that F word, but, F words into this. So the Fishers Freight, with the alliteration aside, I think I'm out of jokes, I'm out of puns, I'm out of everything. It's been a long day. So let's get into the team information, all of the stuff that's pertaining to the Freight, and we'll just carry on. All right, so this will probably be one of the shorter team previews just because there's not a lot of information when it comes to the Fishers Freight, as they are brand new. We do have some information, though, about the team. The Fishers Freight are located in Fishers, Indiana, playing at the Fishers Event Center with a capacity of 7,500. Their head coach is Dixie Wooten. They have no indoor football championships, and their last 5 years do not exist. They will be taking their first snap this season, and it is a brand new team. So the ownership group is part of the same ownership group that owns the Indy Fuel, or Indianapolis Fuel. I do not think they call themselves the Indianapolis Fuel, but the Indy Fuel of the ECHL, which, if you've kind of taken a notice here, it is kind of like minor league hockey ownership is kind of taking over the indoor football league, whether it's been Vegas, Tulsa. Frisco was kind of there with the Dallas Stars a little bit, but then you have the Indy Fuel. I think I'm leaving one out, but I don't know if I said Tulsa, but regardless, we have a lot of hockey ownership, it seems, in this area. So Fishers entering this season, brand new team. They have some work cut out for them. You got to go take a look at their schedule, take a look at their roster, and everything else. But Dixie Wooten has been a head coach before. He has won championships before. If there's anything that you can say about this coaching staff or anything, they do have some experience when it comes to winning. So let's go take a look at that schedule, see if we can piece together some wins, see what could be the toughest part. Let's take a look at the roster and everything else, and we just move on. Okay, so with the schedule popping up here, I have to just come out and say I like the schedule for Fishers. I do. I like how it's evenly kind of spaced out there. They've got, 6 games to start, and then 7, and then 3. Every game is Saturday except for just a couple. Each game is really starting at 6 or 7, except the very first game. We do not know what to make of the East. I do believe it will be tougher. Frisco, Duke City, and Sioux Falls all had their players disperse to different teams, so the talent pool has kind of, condensed itself a little bit, so it will be a little bit tougher in the East. They do play Bay Area, they play Northern Arizona. I think that very first game can set the tone for either of those two teams. They do play San Diego towards the end of the year right there, their penultimate game, and they got, home and home with Iowa to kind of bookend the San Diego game. But I do like what Fishers has here when it comes to their schedule. Like I said, it starts off with that very first game against Northern Arizona. And we'll get to Northern Arizona, new coach, new players, things along those lines. That could be ripe for an upset. And then you have the Frisco Oilers, the Tulsa Fighters, however you want to pronounce it. They do have Tulsa at home. It's a Friday game. We'll see how that goes. Massachusetts is always good, loading up on their talent, and then they're home against Bay Area. I like how this goes. It's going to be a very tough schedule. And this isn't the only schedule that does it, I believe, but after their second bye week, they have at Jacksonville and then home against Jacksonville. So it's like, if there's any bad blood in that first game, that second game, it could boil over. I'm not saying it will, but, you never know. But I do like what Fishers has when it comes to this game. Do you need to talk a little bit about that Bay Area game, too? That's kind of a Dixie Wooten revenge game, being the offensive coordinator, winning a championship as a co-head coach and everything with Bay Area a few seasons ago. So I think he probably has a pin in that one that he wants to kind of prove a point there, too. So that's Fishers' schedule. I do like what they have. I think it suits them very, very well. They could make some noise in 2025. Okay, so it's not the official roster of the Fishers Freight. Say that 5 times fast, I guess. But we can kind of piece together some stuff here. Jaya Wright and Keegan Shoemaker are your quarterbacks. Jaya Wright playing for the Sioux Falls Storm last season for a little less than half the season. I think he played about 5 or 6 games for him. Looking at the running back position, Morian Walker, experience with the Arizona Rattlers. Even though he didn't play in the Indoor Football League last season, he still has that, experience, that talent of playing the indoor game. So that does boost their running back profile a little bit, along with John Gay and John Lewis as well. Wide receivers, we talked about Bay Area earlier or yesterday, and JT Stokes coming over, following Dixie Wooten over here. Isaiah Cox and Jordan Kress, 2 of the 3-headed monsters. Elijah Lilly went over to Arizona, but Cox and Kress over from San Diego, and they've got some size for the wide receiver position. I know it doesn't necessarily make a difference, but Jordan Williams Lambert, 6'4", 220, throw it up to him if he makes the cut. We'll see. Offensive line, LaQuinston Sharp, again, follows Wooten over from Bay Area. And they get Jeremy Cooper, and we'll talk about him too, but Jahari Branch has been traded more than a white elephant gift at Christmas time. He is over here he played for Massachusetts last year, but he has gone to Tucson. He's gone to Fishers. I don't know if he got traded one more time, but he has been traded quite a bit this offseason. AJ Forbes, Noah Batiglieri, Giatarius Spivey, David Munoz, rounding out that offensive line. We'll see how that kind of goes, if they kind of go rookie and veteran, or if they keep the veterans on there. We'll just kind of see. The defense is going to be a stalwart. And this is the reason why I think Fishers could make some noise. You don't really have any rookies on that defensive line. You have brought over quite a bit. Christopher Oakley with Iowa, and I believe he played for Quad City the year before that. Tamar Hart coming from Duke City. I think he played for the Omaha Beef as well a couple years ago, I think before Duke City, so he does have indoor arena talent. Jalen Swan from Quad City. Caleb Brewer played a couple of games for the Barnstormers last year. Kwame Sutton, Braden Utley. I mean, all these guys played at least one game in the Indoor Football League last year. And then they've got a couple of rookies in Robert Horsey and Tylen Wallace. A little bit, not a lot of experience for the linebacker position, but again, things are fluid. You can always sign someone, designate someone else as a linebacker. But Trajan Stevens McQueen is your linebacker from Georgia State. We'll see how it goes with those new defensive rules. Secondary looks very, very tough. Aaron Jackson, Tyrell Pearson, Greg Thomas, Sean Steele, and Devin Hafford, and Kareem Golden, all, again, just like that defensive line, all have at least played one game last year, have some sort of indoor football talent. You're gonna have to cut some of these guys, and some of these guys might go to other teams. I mean, you're picking the best of the best out of these bunches, so there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to see someone like Aaron Jackson. You're going to see probably Jalen Swan or Tamar Hart. I mean, and I'm not saying that these guys make the cut. They couldn't, but their talent will shine. It shined last season. I see more of it coming this season. And that's not to put down anyone else I didn't name. Everyone's very talented, but you got to make the cut somewhere. But yeah, AJ Felton, Chris Jefferson, and Jaden Rowe round out the rookies when it comes to the defensive secondary. And then they do have a kicker, Michael Beloga. And that's where we have it. They don't have any non-active or anyone in the CFL or anything like that. So a very straightforward roster. They have signed players from different teams. They have really brought a nice little bit of veteran and rookies with them, depending on your position. And I really like what Fishers has when it comes to this roster. And like I said, I think they can make quite a bit of noise. I don't know if I'm ready to put them in a playoff spot yet, but if you can just finish in the top half of the East, you make it. So let's go take a look at their key signings. They don't have any departures. So let's go take a look at their key signings, kind of players that I've highlighted. We'll talk about 3 questions. We'll get on out of here. Okay, so key signings. There's no re-signings. There's no departures because there was not a team last year. So we'll talk about some signings. And again, as I've said in the previous 2 videos, rosters are fluid. Just because I point these guys out doesn't mean that they can't get cut, doesn't mean that they can't get traded or anything like that, and they can't sign anyone else to take that over. So I'm saying this stuff as if these guys make the team, they're the starters, things along those lines. So quarterback Jaya Wright, he only played 5 games for Sioux Falls last season, and let's call a spade a spade. Sioux Falls had a tumultuous season last year. I think they went, I think they went through 3 or 4 different quarterbacks at some point. Jaya Wright being one of those. I think Billy Hall being the other. They had to bring Lorenzo Brown out of retirement, and he was with Arizona for a couple of games. So, yeah. But Jaya Wright in his 5 games, 40 completions, 12 passing touchdowns to 4 picks, 60 rushing attempts, 316 yards, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Not bad. Again, it's a little bit of a body of work. He only played 5 games, so you don't really have a true sample. You have a little bit of one. But if he is the true quarterback number 1, it's not necessarily a question mark because I do want to see more of him, but you can't not say it's a question mark because we just have not seen enough. And I think that's going to be something where if everything goes through him, you do have that experience with Morian Walker in the running game or whoever they have being the running back. And then you obviously have the experience that you have with Jordan Kress, Isaiah Cox, JT Stokes, and you have some of those guys. It does worry me a little bit, and I know it's a different scheme, but it does worry me a little bit that Sioux Falls last season had Kentrez Bell, Carlos Thompson, Lorenzo Thompson, and they couldn't get the ball out there. And I don't know. And again, it could be a completely different scheme. Dixie Wooten, you saw what he's done with Bay Area, so it could be different. I mean, I do like the rushing yards for the attempts. It's pretty good. So if he's going to be more of a running quarterback, a la a Daquan Neal kind of run first, pass later kind of thing, it could work out. We'll see. Protecting him is going to be Jahari Branch, and I know I made the joke about him being the traded white elephant gift, but second team all indoor football league, so people want him. All rookie team last year too, so he could be that anchor on that offensive line. LaQuinston Sharp as well over there and I'm blanking on the other name. I just had it up. Hold on, give me a sec. Jeremy Cooper. There we go. And I think Jeremy Cooper also had some accolades either last season or the season before that, if I'm not mistaken, with Massachusetts. Correct me if I'm wrong, but again, that offensive line looks pretty damn good. So if they can protect Jaya Wright, if they can protect the running game, I think that offensive line can kind of hold their shape. AJ Forbes looks like a guy that can get out there too, but Jahari Branch, second team all indoor football, he could be your anchor when it comes to that offensive line, really help out and take some pressure off the running game if they're able to block properly, all of that kind of stuff. You know how it goes. Defensive back Aaron Jackson, second team all indoor defensive back, 85.5 total tackles, 8.5 for a loss, 1 pick and 6 pass breakups. This man was stretchered off the field in like week 2 of the season last year, and he comes back and gets like second team all indoor football. That's insane to me. And I like him. As part of the secondary. I think he is going to I don't know how you can get better than 85.5 tackles, but he could break that. I do want to see more interceptions from him, more pass breakups and things along those lines. But again, Duke City, just like Sioux Falls, tumultuous season. I know some of it might go up to ownership and everything that goes along with owning a team and all the behind the scenes stuff and not having a good season. But Aaron Jackson proved otherwise on a bad team to be a good player. And to see more of it like that for Fishers this year, more tackles like that, all the different defensive rules that have changed, it could open up the game for that secondary. I do like Aaron Jackson being kind of that guy in like kind of that captain style when it comes to that defense. So again, we don't have any departures to talk about, so pretty short here, and we will just kind of move on to the 3 questions. But those are the 3 guys I want to look at. The offense should be good. Defense should be stellar if everything on paper goes according to plan. So let's go take a look at those questions, and we will wrap everything up. All right. 3 big questions. And we'll just start it right off. Question number 1, what are the realistic expectations for Fishers? If you're a fan of Fishers, you're probably thinking playoffs. If you're the ownership, you're probably thinking championship. If you're someone else, realistic, I'm not really sure. Is an over 500 record a success? Is playoffs a success? I mean, you'd probably say yes. Expansion teams have kind of struggled a little bit to start off. Some have, some haven't. You don't count expansion for like Jacksonville or San Antonio. They came over from another league. But when you consider Vegas, Tulsa, Northern Arizona, Bay Area, they have all kind of struggled in their first couple of seasons to get things going in the right direction. So I would say that Fishers probably has their work cut out for them. However, I do think that they could rattle off some wins. I have a tough time seeing them go super above 500. I don't think they're going to get double-digit wins, but if you're telling me they're going to finish 8-8 or 7-9, I could believe you. I truly could believe you. Is that enough to get into the playoffs? I'm not sure, but I do think, the realistic expectations are if Fishers can catch teams at the right time, if they can start off beating Northern Arizona, how far is Iowa progressed? Can they upset Bay Area? Things like that. Can they catch Green Bay? Can they get Quad City? It's those questions you have to ask. What are these expectations? So I'm not ready to say they're going to make the playoffs, but they could surprise some people. So the realistic expectations for Fishers, for me, I would say 7-9. I would say 7-9 or 6-10, maybe 8-8 might be their ceiling, but right in there. And the rest of the East, if it falls into place, they could be chomping at the 4 seed right there. We'll find out. So, question number 2, how far can Jaya Wright take this offense? And I know I alluded to it in the key signings and stuff, but he has skills. He has talent. Can Coach Dixie Wooten unlock that potential? Again, you've seen that offense with Bay Area. You've seen the defense that Bay Area has. And you've seen Dixie Wooten when he's all the way back with Iowa, when he's been with Tucson. I mean, he's been a very, very good coach. And more of the same I'm expecting here. He has the talent. Jaya Wright has the talent. He has the guys around him to make him good. He had talent around him in Sioux Falls. But the coaching staff and everything, I'm not saying Sioux Falls had a bad coaching staff, but I think the coaching staff that Dixie Wooten has accrued here, I think it could be pretty good for Jaya Wright. If he is the starter, Shoemaker could, Keegan Shoemaker could beat him out. We don't know. But I'm acting as if the guy who has the experience is starting. So how far can Jaya Wright take this offense? I think he can take him to a 7-9 record, 6-10 record. I'm really happy to be wrong there too if you go farther. So I like it. Question number 3, the defense is loaded with experience. Can Fishers keep games close, make a run at the playoffs? Like I said, I don't see them in the playoffs, but that defense is stacked. That secondary is stacked. That defensive line is stacked. They might carry one rookie, but most of it's going to be experience on that defensive line. Same thing with that secondary. And again, it all depends on who they sign between now and when they kick off their first game. But what they have defensively, it's good. What they have offensively, it looks pretty good as well. That offensive line is, rounding into shape. I like the skill positions that they have. It's a pretty solid roster. Like I said, they could surprise some people. Can the offense score enough is the other question. I know that's the 4th question, but again, the defense is stacked with talent. Can Fishers keep games close? That's going to be up to the offense. Can the offense score enough in order to make sure that puts Fishers over the top and get some W's? Simple as that. And again, games aren't played on paper. We'll see what happens when the ball's kicked off in Fishers. We'll see what happens when the ball's kicked off in Northern Arizona. It all just kind of comes down to that. So those are the 3 big questions. What are the realistic expectations? How far can Jaya Wright take the offense? And can Fishers keep games close, make a run at the playoffs? Time will tell. But there we go. There we have it for Fishers. Let's wind down everything and get on out of here. And that is it for the Fishers Freight preview. I know, brand new team. Tried to talk about as much as I could, but again, everything kind of just under wraps, and until that ball is kicked off, we just do not know. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. We have to say, hey, this is all on paper and things along those lines. But for all intents and purposes, I think Fishers, they might have their work cut out for them, but they could surprise some people. I think Fishers, they could be a dark horse candidate for the playoffs. I do. And I know some people could disagree with that, but I'm looking at that coaching staff. I'm looking at the talent that they have, and I'll be brutally honest with you. I think Fishers could sneak into that 4 seed, depending on if the records are just right for them to get in there. So it all hinges, obviously. Jacksonville's going to load up. They're going to make a run for it. Quad City has talent that they have, and we'll talk about all these teams later, but that Eastern Conference, it looked kind of weak last year. it's pretty stacked this year, and Fishers enters that. So it might not be the West, but the East has definitely shaped itself up to be something fun to watch as well. So looking forward to seeing Fishers kick off. And yeah, if you guys are too, cool. I'm right along there with you. But yeah, taking off here, guys. I appreciate it. Everything. Love, support, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. I'm going to say it in every team preview. But yeah, if you're a fan of Fishers, comment below. I'm excited to see a new team enter, especially a team from the Midwest. We got enough West Coast teams already. So anyway, I'm taking off here, guys. Until then, see ya.